I'm going to start with a message to the LGBTQ youth. You have been lied to, indoctrinated, and deceived through the education system. The government has cruelly used you as pawns in an effort to destroy our beautiful nation that is founded on good, solid Christian biblical principles. The education system has been weaponized to take control of your hearts and minds by teaching you twisted ideologies that are not based on reality. It is not your fault. Many children and youth have been captured by this cult, but Action for Canada has been on the front line fighting for you, and there is a way out and hope in the future. Please visit our webpage and hear the testimonies of people just like yourselves who realized that they had too been deceived and took the necessary steps to become free. If we see something that's harmful, then we're going to speak out that our children are being harmed en masse, and then they're going into their teens, into their late teens and into their 20s, and sometimes they don't wake up until their 30s.
Hello, we're so glad you've joined us for tonight's show. A warm welcome to you. If you're concerned about the LGBTQ agenda and how our children are being indoctrinated through the education system, then we invite you to stay tuned for tonight's powerful presentation. The speaker for the next hour is Tanya Gaw, Action for Canada's founder and leader, and the title of tonight's show is Pridefall, Collapsing a Radical Ideology. If you can think of anyone who might be interested in hearing this presentation, be sure to take a moment right now to share the registration link and invite them to tonight's show. It's June 4th, 2025, and this is the Empower Hour. It's always such an honor to introduce Action for Canada's founder and leader, Tanya Gaw. For the past 10 years, Tanya has been informing Canadians about government overreach, radical ideologies, and the global agenda. Through call to action campaigns, relevant resources, and weekly guests, Tanya has inspired and empowered Canadians to stand up for our rights and freedoms. For this special edition of the Empower Hour, Tanya will be addressing the LGBTQ agenda and the ongoing concerns around Pride Month. Radical activists know that if they control the minds of our children, they control the future. And Tanya is here to provide us with information, support, and solutions. Will you all help me welcome Tanya Gaw? Hello, Tanya. We're looking forward to what you have to share with us tonight.
Hi, Heather, and thank you for that. Yeah, this is going to be an incredibly important topic as we just enter Pride Month. I'm going to have some really important information to provide everyone. So I just have an opening statement that I would like to make because this can be a very contentious issue. So we understand that when we address this particular topic, which has become highly politicized, that it invokes a wide range of emotions within the LGBT community, and such as feelings of despair, anger, and outrage when the narrative does not align with their radical, unscientific ideologies. But that shouldn't stop the majority of the population from addressing the measurable harms to our children and the attack against societal norms to advance an evil Marxist agenda that is hell-bent on deconstructing the family unit, normalizing sexual deviancy and pedophilia, and mutilating and sterilizing our children en masse. In the following presentation, I will review recent wins and provide evidence to support how the LGBTQ activists are losing the spiritual battle. Their long-standing campaign to advocate and to advance their ungodly agenda by manipulating the masses using self-victimization and robbing Canadians of their hard-earned tax dollars to support their cause is coming to an end in Canada and around the world. And so I'm really excited to dig into some of the details to show you evidence of that. And it has been, thank goodness, due to ongoing movements throughout Canada, the United States, and around the world to address this issue. I'm also going to provide resources and strategies that everyone can effectively commence in their own communities to help bring this culture war to an end. And I mean sooner rather than later. I'm going to start with a message to the LGBTQ youth. You have been lied to, indoctrinated, and deceived through the education system. The government has cruelly used you as pawns in an effort to destroy our beautiful nation that is founded on good, solid Christian biblical principles. The education system has been weaponized to take control of your hearts and minds by teaching you twisted ideologies that are not based on reality. It is not your fault. Many children and youth have been captured by this cult, but Action for Canada has been on the front line fighting for you, and there is a way out and hope in the future. Please visit our webpage and hear the testimonies of people just like yourselves who realized that they had too been deceived and took the necessary steps to become free. If you're struggling today and you somehow come across this video, or maybe you showed up today to criticize the work that Action for Canada is doing, that you feel that you're being attacked by us. I've heard some activists coming out right now and just regurgitating lies, about how we want to erase the LGBTQ and just horrible things. It's like with anything, if we see a danger, if we see something that is harming individuals, we speak out against it. Whether it's the 15-minute cities that are going to capture people, in their communities and not allow them to go beyond that 15-minute boundary, or our open borders that are bringing terrorists and, people that mean us harm into our country. If we see something that's harmful, then we're going to speak out. And what's happening through this radical LGBTQ agenda is that our children are being harmed en masse. And then they're going into their teens, into their late teens and into their 20s. And sometimes they don't wake up until their 30s, if they become aware at all that, they have been terribly deceived by the system. So if you go to current issues, you will click on political LGBTQ, and at the top, you'll see it says, click here to find hope and inspiration. On this page, you'll see some scriptures, because I want you to know that God loves you. And in John 3:16-17, it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. And it says not to condemn the world, but it does mean that he is going to expose sin, and he's going to expose sin in our lives. So in Genesis 1:27, it says, God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. If you're somebody that has been indoctrinated and confused, when we pass away, and we're all going to die one day, and we're buried, and somebody digs up our body in 100 years, they are going to know whether you are male or female. All of the surgeries, all of the mutilations to the bodies, all of that will mean nothing. It was torturous, it was cruel that these surgeries are even available. And so it's a matter of finding out. It's a matter of, something. You're struggling inside and you need answers. So I'm going to encourage you to come to this page, because we have provided wonderful videos of people who were also trapped in this lifestyle and found their way out through the grace of Jesus. And just know there is nothing so vile that you have done that God can't heal you of and redeem you from, and just restore your life unlike anything that you've ever had before that you could possibly imagine. So as we go into the rest of this presentation, there is also a short clip that I'm going to run. And it's actually a rapper. I'm unaware of who this is, but the beginning of this message, I believe, is powerful. It's going to sound a little like we're sitting in church, but there's a point and a purpose as we go through. Some people have said, oh, these are the end times, as in the days of Noah. There was pedophilia and people sleeping together and all kinds of vile sexual deviant acts and bestiality and all of these things in Noah's time. And God wiped out the world except for Noah's family. He brought a flood. And the rainbow is God's promise that he would never flood the earth again. It's not a symbol for the LGBTQ. Okay, they stole the rainbow. They can't even steal the rainbow. They think that they've gained control. They're going to lose it because God is not going to put up with this. So is it the end times? Nobody knows the day or the hour. But it could be a time of revival where God is giving countries that are praying and they are, going before the Lord and saying, man, you know what? We've allowed sin to come into this country and fester and grow. And we need to repent and turn from those ways. So God could really be answering the prayers of millions of Canadians who are praying that prayer. But this is, as we move towards end times, what the world will look like. So just listen to these words and consider them.
But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Woe to he who calls evil good and good evil.
So I would say that scripture is both of those scriptures are very powerful. And when we reflect on Canada and we see that they removed prayer from the schools and God from the schools and God from government, and this is what happens when you face a secular, ungodly society. And so many people in countries around the world, Western nations that were always founded on Christian principles, are returning to those principles. And I'll show you a few clips at the very end of my presentation to show you what's happening throughout Europe and the UK and other places. It's very exciting. But this is a battle between good and evil, and you feel it, you know it. And you can see that, the lovers of money and just being able to use that credit card and the debt and everything is falling apart and out of control because we don't have God front and center. One of those areas is the topic that we're talking about tonight. And in 1 Corinthians 6:9-11, it says, "Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither the immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you, but you are washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and by the Spirit of our God." And I wanted to bring this verse up. And yes, you know what? It highlights homosexuals here, but I want you to notice some of the other sinful natures that were listed. Idolaters. There are many false religions in this country who have idols. There's other ways of idol worship, but there's also adulterers. There are those that are cheating on their spouses, and there's drunkards, there's thieves, there's greedy, there's liars. Like all of this comes in as sin to God. But by his grace in sending Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, we have a way of forgiveness and to move out of that lifestyle into something new. And only he can redeem us. But you need to profess your life and what's going on in it as sin in order to move away from that and be faithful in that. So I hope you will feel encouraged by those words. I know that there's going to be people listening to this show tonight that are in a place and ready to hear that. All right, so into the presentation. Because it's Pride Month, I wanted to bring to the awareness. We're all about taking action. We want to equip you within your communities, and this is an action that you can easily take part in. We created this letter several years ago. I believe it was in 2023 when we first launched it, and we had all sorts of great wins because people took the time to I'm going to just move over to it for a second here. The letter to ban non-government and special interest group flags. And, most specifically, I would say that this is to address the LGBTQ political flag that is going up over our schools and our cities. We've got stamps on our side, like the sidewalks that are on our roads. And when you go down to the creator of the LGBTQ flag, the pride flag, it was Gilbert Baker, and he declared very boldly, that's what flags are for. Flags are about proclaiming power. That visibility is key to our success and to our justice. So they are proclaiming power over our schools and over our children, over our cities and over our councils, over all of society. They go into businesses and bully them until business owners will put that little political flag in their window. And it is a matter of going in and educating these people. Do you know what you are supporting when you support that political symbol? And through it, we have been able to educate mayors and city councils, even police detachments, who have refused then to fly the pride flag. Now, I want to also highlight who Robert Hogue is. I say AKA Monica Helms. This is a trans activist who created the trans flag. And he forced his wife to participate in his fetishes, cross-dressing, and wrote Forced Feminization, a porn genre stories, including one about young girls who never age. Hogue tells many stories, but one in particular sexualizes a child. And in his memoir, Hogue said the concept of that story came to him in a dream. After his divorce was finalized, Hogue became frequenting sex clubs, which offered patrons the chance to watch people having sex in windowed rooms. These clubs enabled him to fulfill each and every fantasy he had concerning sex with men. It goes on to talk about how, in addition, I'll just read it actually, as reported by Redex, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, it's referred to as WPATH, is a top trans medical association that collaborates in castration and child abuse fetishes. This international association, which sets guidelines for the medical transitioning of children, has been collaborating with participants of a fetish forum that hosts and produces fictional child pornography and extreme sadomasochist content. They are associated with the UNIC Archives, which hosts over 3,000 pieces of fictional child pornography that detail the rape, torture, and killing of children. In some narratives, children with stunted puberty are raped by doctors. In others, children are castrated by force as part of a sadistic sexual torture ritual. This professor at California State University, who goes by the pseudonym Jesus, is a member of the forum and works extensively with WPATH. Another associate is Johnson, who has published research based on surveys he has personally conducted with other members of the archives. His academic interests advocate for expanding the concept of gender identity to include men with sadomasochist and even pedophilic castration fantasies, something that has now been included as a male-to-eunuch identity in the draft standards of care for the WPATH. Now, I would encourage you to go onto our website and read the rest of this. They actually get off on castration of animals, is what it further says in the article. So can you imagine how they feel and why they're so focused at the WPATH of castrating our children? This is so dark and so evil and so wrong, and we must fight for our children and put a stop to this. Please print this letter, send it to your principal, hand it to your principal, teachers, mayors, city councils, anybody and everybody that is flying this flag. Say you must become educated on what it is that you are supporting and who are at the root of this agenda. This also, our website leads to the no votes. And just so you can see, as I scroll down in 2023, we had a number of people reach out to us with their success stories. I didn't have time and last year to update the page, but I'm asking you this year, if you do, go along with this campaign, and I hope and pray that you will send your good news reports to us at call2@actionforcanada.com. We also have a campaign that goes on year-round, but especially at the beginning of the new school year. And what better time than the month of June, that's considered Pride Month, to hand out this truth bomb to parents. This one is specific to SOGI 123, but on our web page, we have flyers for the WIN Sex Ed. We're going to very likely be changing that to calling it the Doug Ford Sex Ed, because he had every ability to change this curriculum. He came in with promises and he did nothing about it. And so I think he needs to wear this and take responsibility for it. Now, another campaign, anyway, so you can hand this out at the stores. You can, leave the flyer in different places, maybe at the doctor's office, wherever you like. Do take this flyer and make good use of it, because the information in here could save a child's life. And I'm not saying that lightly. It could inform parents whose children are right now being indoctrinated in the system, and next week could come home as a 14-year-old girl and say that that child no longer recognizes or identifies as a girl but a male. Parents need to be warned of what's what's going on. Now, I spoke about businesses a moment ago, and we have on our political LGBTQ page this flyer as well. And I'll show you at the end of the show where you can access this. This flyer is on the page, and this is just such a good truth bomb for business owners. So print these and pass them out to business owners within your community to help them learn about the agenda from the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and the World Health Organization about the environment, social governance, the ESG and diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, all these schemes that are promoting all this race baiting, colonialism, and of course, massively this LGBTQ radical activist campaign that leads to our children going on to hormone blockers, being sterilized, and many of them end up having mutilating surgeries. Now, to good news. This is really good news, what's happening throughout the nation. I had looked up Kelowna Pride as well. I happened to be there on the weekend, and all of these pride groups are losing massive amounts of funding, hundreds of millions of dollars. Can I hear a praise hallelujah to that? Like, this is really important, right? Because their presence in the pride parades, their lawfare that they take against good people like myself are funded by major corporations. They are funded by our federal government. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of your taxpayer hard-earned dollars in this recession are going to the LGBT community. Now, a major reason why this is happening, of course, is because of the actions in the United States. And I'll be showing a document to show all of the policies that President Trump has put forward. And of course, one of them is coming very hard against the DEI programs.
In times of financial uncertainty, securing your wealth is more important than ever. With inflation, market instability, and economic challenges, many Canadians are turning to one timeless strategy: precious metals. Gold and silver have historically retained their value, offering a hedge against economic turmoil and a safeguard for your assets. If you're looking to invest, there's good news for members of Action for Canada. We're proud to announce our partnership with Steve Merrill of Sun City Silver. Steve is not only a friend of the Freedom Movement, but he's also offering Action for Canada members exclusive access to some of the best pricing in Canada. Thanks to his extensive client base and affiliation with Silver Gold Bull, you can now secure your precious metals at incredible rates. Silver Gold Bull is a trusted Canadian leader with live pricing available 24/7 and nearly 400,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. When you purchase through Steve, you're not only investing in your future, you're also supporting the Freedom Movement, as a percentage of each sale helps support Action for Canada. Plus, there's a bonus. If you place an order of $5,000 or more, you'll receive a 1-ounce pure silver bullet, a unique and valuable addition to your collection. And if you refer someone who places a $5,000 order, you'll get another silver bullet as a thank you. To get started, visit actionforcanada.com/purchasing-precious-metals/. Remember, your decisions are your own, and we recommend doing your own research before making any investment. But with Steve Merrill's guidance and our partnership, you'll be on the right path to securing your future. Secure your assets, protect your future, support the movement. Visit us today to learn more.
In this particular ad, it was Home Depot and Google that are pulling out. But here was another article I found. Pride Month 2025 organizers face uncertain future as some corporate sponsors pull back. Now, it's not just some, we're talking major funding. Here is a list of some of those, and you'll see Goldman Sachs, Lowe's, MasterCard, Meta, Nissan, Pepsi, Price Waterhouse, Target, and I heard that Target is no longer selling the tuck bathing suits and the other very highly politicized radical LGBTQ I don't know how to say products that Target was very well known. Many people had boycott Target. We've got Visa and Walmart pulling out. Now, it would have been really nice if they'd done this for the right reasons, but you go where the money is, and Trump is saying he's had enough of this, and there needs to be a reshift and focus in society back to what worked. And we're talking a real good moral society is what worked, and not people have sexual deviant fetishes that are taking our hard-earned dollars. I mean, we should be outraged about this. Never mind what they're doing to our children. So that's a good news report. I hope that gives you encouragement because they are being funded, like I say, not only in their local communities for their pride parades and living quite high off the hog, from this, but they're also weaponizing the courts and bringing forward legal actions that if they didn't have the funding, they wouldn't be able to do this. So in closing, this will be my final statement on Pride Month. I ask you to go to our merchandise page and purchase our t-shirts. A small donation will go towards Action for Canada from your contribution. So we really appreciate that. But we're taking back the rainbow. Genesis 9:13, God is love. I wore this the other day. I was in Kelowna and I was speaking at a rally there. And it seems, we don't know if they did it on purpose, but the local Pride group ended up having a huge Pride event in the same park that we were to commence our event at 11 o'clock, and they didn't leave till 11:30, and it all still worked out. But I confidently walked in with this t-shirt, and if it invoked some conversation, I was ready for that. So be strong and courageous. Make sure that you order this t-shirt, order it for friends and family. Go out shopping, make a difference. Let's change the narrative, okay, from one that's very negative, and for people to understand that love is not love. Their kind of love is man-boy love. That is not love. That is dangerous, all right? And it puts our children at risk. God is love. So order one of those t-shirts today, right now, as soon as you hear this. Okay. All right. I'm just going to review our massive win in Alberta, and it is a massive win. We could have said big win. We've had a win, but we decided to say massive win because for myself, I've been at this for 10 years. I've been specifically working on bringing public awareness to the LGBTQ activists. And I hate having to say it, but you know what, I'm going to, for those of you who are feeling just knee-jerk reaction offended, we're not talking about the gay and lesbian community. Their platform has been overtaken, and they are out there as there are some of them out there now, finally, thank goodness, who are as actively involved in stating that what they're doing to our kids in the schools is wrong. Okay, I just wish they would have shown up a whole lot sooner, but that's fine. And so I just want to make that clear. And so as we move forward with this win, our work is not done. And if this is the first time you're hearing about this, we had been lobbying the Minister of Education, Mr. Nicolaides in Alberta, and just requesting that they would look at a binder of evidence that we provided them. Now, I'm just going to update this page because I think I neglected to do that, because we've put a video on the page when you look this up, and it's the interview I had with Kim and Sandra, who are the chapter leaders in Alberta who took this campaign on. And boy, did they work hard. So the binder was delivered to multiple people in government, and an appointment was pursued with the Minister of Education. Please listen to the video to hear all of the details and what you can be doing in your communities as well to push back in your province and to prepare. And if you don't have a chapter, for some reason, there's a couple of provinces we don't have a chapter in, reach out to us and we will help you with the information and evidence that you need to address your elected officials as well. And it ended up being successful. And Mr. Nicolaides, a week ago Monday, made an incredible announcement that they would be removing a number of the books in his press release. He actually called the books sexually explicit and referred to it as porn, and said that they couldn't even show the books in this news press release because of how explicit they were. So keep that in mind, because I'm going to remind you of an incident that I went through here in Mission, BC. So anyways, they're going to launch a province-wide initiative to remove the pornographic and sexually explicit material from school libraries. and they are seeking to create consistent province-wide standards to ensure age appropriateness of materials available to K to 12 students in school libraries. I got to hear another praise hallelujah from that, whether you're a Christian or not. Like, this is massive. This is something to be really celebrated. Now, they are also collecting feedback from the public, and I ask you to really, as fast as possible, go on, fill out the public engagement. It only takes you a few minutes, but this is only going until June 6th, so only a couple more days to provide your feedback. So please participate in that. And if you haven't done so already, please scroll down. Here is the Education Minister and the Premier's email addresses, and just thank them for their recent announcement and the actions they're willing to take. However, we are requesting, because we did, when we spoke to them, we were addressing SOGI 123 and third-party organizations such as the ARC Foundation and other radical activist groups who have been able to be successful at implementing some radical ideologies within the school systems. Those need to be addressed. There is measurable harm to our students, through our children, through the SOGI 123 resource. It must be completely removed. So it takes you a few seconds. You just copy this and then you paste it in your email. Then you copy the email addresses and you send it on your way. They need to hear when they've done a good job. They need to hear from the public. Now, as mentioned previously, in 2023, we had another really great win. I'm going to call it a massive win, where SOGI 123 was going to be implemented into Saskatchewan. We found out about it, did a huge campaign over several months, had an amazing petition, and we not only banned SOGI 123 from going into the province, but also banned Planned Parenthood, who were responsible for those sex cards. So Planned Parenthood is a third party that was permitted to come in and teach so-called sex ed, which should also be eradicated from the school system. They should only be teaching about biology. The radical sex ed, of course, was implemented, and sexual education came after Alfred Kinsey had abused and committed acts of pedophilia on infants and babies. And after all of his research, he determined that kids were sexual from birth. And Margaret Sanger was involved in that, Hugh Hefner, and that's where sexual education came from. We've done many shows on this. They're awesome. Look it up on our website. And that's why sexual education needs to be eradicated. It's okay to teach about simple biology. I think that's good for kids, to know that, but we need to be very involved in the programs. So we're making progress. We're having wins. Alberta takes hard line against porn books in school libraries. Again, if you Google this or search it in whatever search engine you use, you can hear Minister Nicolaides' speech and what he said. I'd highly recommend it. This is really, really important. Now, I love this title. Books graphically depicting oral sex have no place in elementary schools. You would think that's a no-brainer. You would think, what? How could these books even enter the school? We've been lobbying governments, even the Alberta government. We've been serving them our SOGI notice of liability. We've been sending pictures of the books. Other groups have been doing that, but it took a real sit down. I forget how long Minister Nicolaides has been actually the Minister of Education, but when we showed him this material, he did seem genuinely shocked by its content. And so we're just very grateful that they've taken action. Now, the reason I say I don't love this title, but I get a kick out of it because let's take a look at what happened to me in Mission. Some of you may recall that our team member, Christina, and myself from Mission, she's the chapter leader, we had an opportunity to do a delegation via Zoom with the Mission School District. This is 2.5 years ago in January of 2023. So while Christina was giving the delegation verbally, as soon as she started talking about books, I had been given the ability to share screen. So I thought, okay, great. And I started showing the books that we had as an example what could be in the school district. Now, not all of them are going to be in each school district, so they had a little hissy fit, and this really radical leftist little group here of trustees, which are all into all of the land claims and supporting all of the natives and the globalists, global global classrooms. They're just completely full on involved in this. So after they closed me down and shut me down from showing the rest of the slideshow, a news article comes out saying Mission School District bans anti-LGBTQ group from presenting at meetings after graphic slideshow. We're going to send them we're going to send them this link, and we're going to send them Mr. Nicolaides' statements on this issue. So why are we now hearing from a province that is up in arms about it and saying there is sexually graphic porn content accessible to our children? And there was something I was going to see. So that's Board Chair Shelley right here. Carter said the PowerPoint contains some graphic and inappropriate cartoon images. Carter said she asked the group to take the slides down, but they refused. Staff then had to turn the presentation off. And then they go on to how, Carter said that Action for Canada's mandate goes against the board's focus of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The group's website makes various claims, including that the LGBTQ have been hijacked by radical activists, and pornographic books are available in schools and libraries across the country. And then went on to say how it upset the feelings. I remember being on the Zoom call, and I'd never seen it before, but the LGBT color, Zoom has added something. So there was a lot of people who had that highlighted. So I know there was a lot of LGBTQ activists. It's not that it offended them. They're very concerned about being exposed and being shut down. And so they should be. And so this is a list of the books that Action for Canada has on our website. I'm not going to go through this 36-page list, but as they were talking, you can get an idea that this is cartoon pornography, and that's exactly a thing. Now, I won't go down to Fun Home, and I won't go down to Gender Queer, and those are two of the books that have been banned, and schools are mandated to take them out of the schools in Alberta. Now, granted, Mission didn't have those particular books, so they figured, oh, you know what, we don't have, it's perfectly normal, and we don't have genderqueer in their schools, granted, but they didn't give us the time to finish to show the other books. And so we did a campaign at that time against the Mission School Board and outed them. Highly recommend you go in and listen to this video to see how they contradict and how they permit these books and make every excuse to continue to have them in the school system and have them accessible to children. So we created a page. It's like, okay, you think you can get off on a small technicality that you don't have it's perfectly normal in your school district or gender queer? Well, how about this? They ended up having All Boys Aren't Blue. When you look into the graphic language, it is disgusting. I would be horrified if my children, while they were in school, had access to these materials. They had Melissa. We've got write-ups on all of this material, as well as identical. If you will recall, this book is about a father who has twin daughters. I believe they're 9 years old. And he rapes the one daughter and commits incest while the other daughter is viewing it. And gee, if I was good, maybe daddy would do that to me. It is disgusting. It's twisted. And this is what these deviants on that school board have in their location. Now, thankfully, I was researching it the other day in a couple of more books. I couldn't find that they weren't accessible in the school district. So we have a team looking into that. But what you can do is really make a huge difference. We have small teams with our chapter leaders, and I'm giving you testimony of what we're achieving and that you too can achieve in your community. We have all the resources. It's not like you have to recreate the wheel. It's not like you have to write technical letters and send them. We've got all the materials available to you, and consider becoming a chapter leader in your community if there isn't one. You can go to our join page. I'll just highlight it right here, and you can see, boom, A4C chapters. Just go in there and even reach out to us, even if you want to have a conversation on how to become a chapter and what that would entail. We're more than happy to have the conversation. Now, at this time as well, back in 2023, I had reached out to the Chilliwack RCMP, and I filed a complaint. They had the book identical, 7 of them in the Chilliwack School District. So I made a phone call, and I live an hour away from Chilliwack, but I said, we need an investigation into these books, into the Chilliwack School District, because I believe there is harm happening to children. And one of those books was also out at the time that we were researching this. So Constable Goddard reached out to me, and he took my complaint, and they filed a number, RCMP case number. And that was on a Friday night. And then by Wednesday that week, I was in Kelowna at the time for an event, and I had somebody contacting me, look at Global News, and all over Global News, the 5 o'clock news on CTV News, etc., CBC, they were all stating that the books do not meet the definition of child pornography under the criminal code. And the RCMP had given a press release. So I reached out to them. The officer then calls me and I says, "What's going on?" I says, "You either have a leak or you did this. This is political. You did this intentionally. And now this has gone nationally, and this is the standard that's going to be set." So a month later, they called me in and they said, "You want to come in and understand why we made that decision?" And I can tell you that our criminal code, I believe that if they really wanted to shut this down, they could have. But our criminal code is very weak when it comes to child pornography and protecting our children. And we've got a lot of work in front of us, but we are gaining back and taking back a lot of ground from the enemy, and we are going to continue to do that. But I just want you to know the efforts that have led up to Action for Canada having the successes, and we've been unstoppable. I mean, this is a small minority of people that have brought all of this chaos and debauchery into our school systems and society. And, you know, if the more Canadians would get involved, we are the majority. But even it's always less than 1% of the population that, you know, are the ones that are busy 24/7 and bringing this in and lobbying government. And now you've got a really great squeaky group here at Action for Canada that are lobbying government, holding the police to account, having meetings and demanding justice for our children. So please support Action for Canada, become a chapter member, help us out in whatever way that you can. Now, this is another massive win in Ontario. Of course, there's a lot of good groups in Ontario, Campaign Life Coalition, PAF, Parents as First Educators. Of course, Action for Canada has a huge presence in Ontario. We've served our notices of liability at the local level and really holding elected officials to account. We were very successful in certain campaigns that we've been doing on other issues in Ontario, and we believe that we're going to have great success on this issue. Last year, working together with one of the school districts in Dufferin Peel, the Catholic school district, we were able to, combined with many of us got together, and we were able to get the Pride flag taken down permanently. It's not going to even go up during Pride Month. Sigh of relief for our kids who are really struggling with all this social justice going on. They need to just learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. So Paul Calandra is the new Minister of Education in Ontario. And let's just hear what he has to say. His new announcement.
Be students, parents, and teachers, and ensuring that every student had all the tools that they need to succeed by maximizing the amount of money that we put into classroom education across the province of Ontario. And that's why today I introduced new legislation to increase accountability. It's about making sure school boards are doing what they're meant to do, focusing on student achievement. We are making historic investments in public education, and I intend to make sure that those dollars are being spent where they belong, in classrooms and not boardrooms. Too often, we have seen examples of school boards losing focus. Whether it's an expensive trip, misaligned spending priorities, it's just not acceptable. This new legislation will allow us to step in more quickly and more effectively when boards fall short of their responsibilities. It strengthens oversight, improves governance, and ensures that every decision being made is in the best interest of our students. Now, let me be clear. Cutting essential student services should never be the first option. Boards must look inward and make responsible choices that protect learning. I will be absolutely relentless in ensuring that funds meant for the classroom, for students, get to the classroom, giving our teachers all of the tools that they need to ensure that our students are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow.
Isn't that fantastic? Now we're going to go a little deeper dive into what he's talking about, it ends up that something like $100,000 was used by school boards to take the initiative upon themselves to change the name of 3 schools. $100,000 to change the name of 3 schools because it might have hurt somebody's feelings or offended them. This is such a waste of taxpayer funding. And the education minister looks to fire a school trustee who says he didn't pay for pricey Italy trip. And so can you imagine these school boards, they have a fiduciary duty to spend our tax dollars responsibly. So this is massive. This is welcome. This is huge. I love it. I hope this person gets fired, and that sends a clear message to the rest of them that they better buck up and understand they have a huge responsibility in focusing on education. Now, the other thing is that I believe that he's addressing in his announcement, it says, is that these school boards are not there to write curriculum, and they are not there to entertain political and global agendas. I mean, again, this is hoorah. This is very, very good, because especially Toronto, right now you can see the school board votes to speed up anti-Palestinian racism strategy. So they are actually, as if they're the ones that write curriculum, are putting this into the educational resources that teachers would have to teach within their classroom. So he's saying, no, you don't teach curriculum, Toronto School Board. I'm hoping and I'm praying, and we should have a whole team praying consistently around the Toronto School Board that every single one of them get fired. This is a really bad board, just really vile. I remember seeing a video of a Jewish boy who was getting bullied because of all the Muslims that were in the school system and all the entertaining of this anti-Palestinian racism rhetoric, and which is the Palestinians, as you can see, pose a danger to Canada and especially to this Jewish boy. And that school board didn't give a hoot about this young man's appeal. And I would imagine that he is out of that school system at this point and somewhere in safety, because he was not safe in the Toronto School District. Then there's the Ontario government is also failing in student academic achievement. These are stats that we got a couple of years ago. And I just want to show you, with all this social justice, social emotional learning, all of the global agenda, it is failing our children, and they're failing. And so they're coming out of school with graduating with a 65, or here in grade 3, 65% in writing, mathematics, 59%, grade 6, 47% in mathematics, 84% in writing. And then in graduation as well, it doesn't look good. It gets worse and worse as you go down the page to hear how our kids are not being equipped for the real world when they graduate. Are they going to be social justice warriors? Are they going to be a Greta Thunberg, traveling to Palestine? And no, that's not a job. Okay, those are for activists that are being paid big money. These kids are going to fail. They'll probably be, working at Tim Hortons. No, they can't work at Tim Hortons. Let me see. Where could our kids be working now that after they failed through this system? So grade 9 assessment in mathematics, 52%. Let that sink in, my friends. All right, the Ontario government is failing students in their academic achievement. But don't just think this is Ontario. This is nationwide. We've got to do better. And now another thing, that a report that came out from Western Standard, it goes the Blackboard jungle redux, but what they were addressing in the classrooms today, it goes the biggest threat to education is not student indifference or the proliferation of smartphones. And understand that smartphones are being banned in the United States. And guess what? The kids' grades are going up, and they're not being distracted. They're not being exposed to pornography. This is something that we've got to do in Canada as well. I grew up fine without a cell phone in the classroom. I had to walk down to the office if I was sick or call my mom, and it all worked out perfectly fine. Better than ever, better than today. So what this report is saying, violence in the classroom is rising dramatically. And while teachers' unions insist that it's the result of provincial budget cuts and larger class sizes, the facts tell a different story. As shocking incidents pile up across the country, it's becoming clear that a more disturbing culprit is at work. A steady ideological transformation that has eroded discipline, dismantled hierarchies, and turned classrooms into chaos zones. It's exactly what they're doing. Oh, worry about kids' feelings, all about the feelings, and don't pit. We got to pit brown kids against white kids and the white colonial and all the rest of the garbage. And right, these minority groups, we got to focus on the minority groups. You better apologize to the natives, and we need to give land acknowledgements in classrooms. It's complete garbage. It's got to stop. And then the teachers are losing control in the classrooms because now they can no longer call out bad behavior. And when you think about all of the foreigners that are entering our classrooms that come from different cultures where they don't have the same structures and systems of discipline that we have, there is chaos in the classrooms. And we need to appeal on behalf of teachers, the good teachers that are sticking it out in the classroom and have a passion to teach our kids. There's many teachers in our school system, and kudos to them for sticking it out. Another news report is school board trains staff that the term family is harmful and racist. Okay, guess what? Waterloo School District. We need an injunction against them for this. They need to be charged. I'd like somebody to sue them. I'm sick of hearing about how harmful families are. And they are also right into all the white privilege and all the social justice. I mean, this school board as well, I'm hoping that all of them get fired. I'm hoping that the new Minister of Education will find reasons, and we got to clean up. He's right, but it's not just financially we need to clean up our school boards. It's getting rid of the radical activists who managed to get in there. Now, what's Hungary doing? I love Hungary. I'm thinking about moving to Hungary, if I can. Marks Children's Day with major incentives for families. Now, I've reported on Hungary in the past with these financial incentives that they're giving families to have more children. And you got to remember, when I'm reporting on Islam, they never allowed the migrants to enter their country. They said, no way. They are about Hungary, and they're about their sovereignty and preserving it, and to increasing the size of families so that they don't get outpopulated. I love it. Kudos to Hungary. We need more of this in Canada. I'm just going to insert Proverbs 22:6 here. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. And we need to keep our kids close. You need to get your kids out of the education system. It is a burning building, as Alex Newman says. It's a 911. Homeschool them. Look under our current issues. You'll see our homeschooling page. It will help you with homeschooling associations across Canada. If what I'm showing you here doesn't motivate you to figure out how to do this, grandparents, you need to help out your kids and your grandkids. You need to help make this happen. I am juggling my grandson three days a week while I'm doing all of this work, and while I have an elderly mom I care for. And I'm telling you, you know what? This is worth it to me. I don't care, how much sleep I get, as long as I'm taking care of my family and helping, children across the nation. We have got to make this a priority. When somebody declares war against you, what do? Do you stay at home? Do you go golfing on the weekend? Or do you do a little something about it? All right. Just because the bombs aren't blowing up those golf courses doesn't mean, that the war isn't taking place. We need to protect our children. National defense, these are just highlights to see how embedded and, this is in our government. National defense gets out and they say the defense team honors the contributions of 2S LGBTQ, whatever, members and commits to building an inclusive workplace where all can thrive. If you go down and look at all of the comments, 699 comments, there's zero support for our national defense and this woke ideology that they're supporting. Then they say, please remain respectful as you comment on this subject while we monitor the conversation. Some comments may bring up difficult emotions. If you require support, please consult the following resources. If we have people in our military that are offended by this, they have no business being in our military. We need real men and women of courage being in the military to defend this country. This is why people aren't signing up for the Canadian military. It is grotesque what's happening. Crime in York region is up in every single possible measure, sometimes double. I'll just turn the volume off on this, but I'll just expand the page. You can see this is a drag queen. This is what they've made as a priority in the York region. Can you imagine this? Look at her bimming and bopping there. Look at these guys. Shame. Absolute shame on them for prioritizing this drag event. And those who had posted this, violent crime trends in York, okay, up 63% from 2019 to 2023. Specific violent crimes, assault, sexual violations, robberies. Now, we know who's occupying York at this point, but these, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, they're idiots to get up there and celebrate Pride Month. That is not their job. And when they do that, they show a very much a stand on their political ideology, and they are unsafe for many people in the community to approach at that point. The police are 100% to be politically neutral, and everybody in York should be up in arms about this and demanding justice. If you don't demand change, this slips by with actually absolutely nothing happening. I love this quote, so I'll continue to quote it whenever I can. Compassion without wisdom is dangerous. It's what enables people to support the underdog, even if the underdog is evil. So the LGBTQ community had mastered victimization in order to promote their agenda. And they pulled on the heartstrings of many Canadians, and talking about the high rates of suicide among this community, which what the facts are, that the highest rates of amongst the trans community anyways of suicide is after they've had their bodies mutilated and been put on harmful drugs. All right, so let's get our facts straight. Let's get that information out. Just a quick update, just in case you've missed it. I mean, this case that Action for Canada is in right now, we have a defamation case that's been filed against us by Tyson Cook, the drag queen from Kelowna. He goes by Frida Wales. This is a guy that was doing the murdering people and chopping them up and eating them and then feeding them to his pig and so much more. We filed our response and our application in my affidavit. And I'm just so happy because within 24 hours, Mr. Cook's lawyer was requesting that the application for an injunction be adjourned. Generally, that means with no time frame as to when they will address this. So this is the position that we're in, you guys. I really have to appeal for funding for this case. Please go to our website, go under donations to our, and go, there's our general fund and our legal fund. We need our war chest. I spent $20,000, I've spent $40,000 since January on this case. And I want to thank every single Canadian and member of Action for Canada who have donated to us. We don't have massive donors. We have the grassroots. And that is what is enabling me. This is a critical case. This is not only in defense of our children, but the freedom of speech. We must win this battle, and we are ready to go all the way. And we cannot do this without your continued support. So one, thank you. And I appeal to you to continue to please support us. And I just wanted to bring to the awareness, like we have concerns over this individual because his YouTube that is for children and his website portion that's for children and his social media, it's one click away from kids going to the sexual inappropriate content that he has posted. And so in other cases, such as in Port Coquitlam in the same year in 2023, this teacher, it was a teacher's assistant, and she had an OnlyFans account, which is a Pornhub, and that's what she was doing as a sideline. And so she ended up getting reviewed and fired. And now there's just released on May 30th, a Vancouver teacher suspended after pup fetish identity. Pup fetish, if you see the pride parades and there are individuals wearing these type of masks, and then they have a collar on and a leash and a jock strap, and that's all they're wearing. And this individual truly 100% feels sexy and believes in what he's doing. And so now the Vancouver school district is reassessing his suitability to be a teacher. So he has been suspended. So these are very important cases. All right. Sometimes I have to refresh when it's a Substack. Restoring Reality, Trump's 2025 overall of U.S. gender policy, and Canada and other countries around the world are 100% benefiting from what the U.S. is doing. I mean, it is so incredible how many issues regarding this specific subject that they have taken on and effectively addressed. So they are removing all of the trans policies and all the transgenders from the military. That's an extremely weak military, and they were doing trans training under Biden and all the rest. It was so diabolical. You said, pinch me. Like, is this really real? And so let me just go down for a few. Defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government. I won't go through them all. Prioritizing military excellence and readiness, protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation, ending radical indoctrination in K-12 schooling, federal agency implementation of this continued actions. I'd have to go into that one. Keeping men out of women's sports. Okay, I could go down. As it says at the top, I believe it's 30 actions I thought I had read that they've implemented since January. They mean business. This has fallen apart. And this is why corporations such as Home Depot and others are exiting the DEI and all of these social agendas and getting back to business. And that's where everybody needs to return. UK Supreme Court rules that equality law defines a woman as someone born biologically female. So I'm just giving you some good news reports. Mass resistance is working really hard in the United States. And one of the things they're taking down is to overturn the approval of gay marriage, because it was one of the incremental steps in breaking down societal norms. And they are attacking the family unit. So if they're going to do that, it's okay. You know what? You have overstepped and we're going to have to back the bus up, and we're going to have to overturn some of the legislation that's been passed. And, back in the 2005, I believe it was, is when they approved gay marriage in Canada, same-sex marriage over 10 years ago. That was in 2016. Yeah, so I think it was 2005. But hey, for all you conservative voters who still voted conservative, so Canada, Canada became the third country to permit same-sex marriage after the Netherlands and Belgium. And if we look at this from a spiritual aspect, then you can understand that these are the countries that are falling the greatest. I mean, threat of invasion, the morality that has declined because of opening these types of doors. And sorry, I really meant to address this title. Canada's Conservative Party members vote to accept same-sex marriage after 10 years it was legalized. And I remember when this took place that we had a huge campaign against the Conservative Party because this is not a traditional value. And on their website, to their paying members, they had promised that this was a party of traditional values. And as far as I know, I have no use for the Conservative Party because of this. Michelle Rempel, she is not a conservative. She is a liberal activist that infiltrated the party, and she championed this. And got this over the finish line. And so please, if you're a conservative voter, you need to, possibly reconsider your support for them. And once you start voting for righteousness first, I believe that God is even going to bless us in the next election. But this has got to be a check for people. Hungary bans pride events at Parliament. And then as well, Chile government calls for immediate anti-gender transition. So you can really see that a lot is going on in the world. The LGBTQ activists, this whole agenda is being overturned, as I called this presentation, referred to the word of Pridefall and the word of, not prideful, but a Pridefall. And this radical ideology is failing. And thank God it's long overdue. It's been an exhausting journey to try to get us back on the right track. So as far as current issues are concerned, you can just come to our webpage, and on this particular issue, you see political LGBTQ activism. You will see all of the information. Here's the banned non-government flag that I've been speaking about. That's fast access to that. The good news reports, Donald Trump's big report is on this page. I actually stopped updating this page in 2023 because I just couldn't keep up with all the good news reports happening from around the world. But I wish I could. We need somebody from the team updating all of the good news reports that are happening in Canada as well on this page. But I thought the one and the policies that are being passed by Donald Trump and his team in the US were noteworthy. and that we should be passing that on to elected officials here. I just wanted on the LGBTQ page at the very, very top, if you know that somebody whose daughter or son is coming home and having been radically indoctrinated in the education system, please may the first thing you do is send them this video where it shows, it says SOGI, but it's applicable to any radical ideology that's being taught, whether it's the WIN sex ed or Doug Ford sex ed or back to basics, whatever it's called in your province. This is what's behind it. I show you from K to 6 how they're putting these thoughts into children's minds and then building on those that by the time they get to grade 6, many kids 12, 13, and 14 are identifying as the opposite sex. It's a huge social contagion. And so then when you watch that video, this is the document that I provide there as well. And it just shows you, I highlight in the document the key points of what they're doing to our children. On that same page, if you scroll down, you'll see Sarah's detransition story. I had her on the show. So if I know a parent whose daughter or son is going through this, I says, you know what, before we have a further conversation, please watch the presentation I did on the K to 6 indoctrination, and then please listen to Sarah's story and how she was indoctrinated by trans individuals that came to the school at the age of 14, fast-tracked onto puberty blockers, and then the BC government paid to mutilate her and have her breasts removed. They offered her, she hadn't even healed, and they offered her bottom surgery, but thank God she said no to that. She didn't even want the top surgery, but they had pressured her into taking it because it would be covered. But she wasn't sure that was the road she wanted to go down. So in her 20s, she all of a sudden realized, I'd been deceived. And then she went on a very hard journey of recovery. And she's still recovering. But it's very important for parents to see this, and then we can help them, because all of a sudden, what's happened to their children in the school system is revealed, and they're going to mourn and feel that, they've let their children down. And parents, you need to be involved in your children's education. You need to be asking them questions. The school system is a battleground, and it is not a friend of yours. So I won't, and now I'm just going to go into what's happening around the world and give you some encouragement. 300 Christian patriots march in Warsaw, Poland. All right, so singing Poland will remain Christian forever. In Germany, look at this crowd that is moving through Germany. And these are Christians as well. And they are standing up for their country, that Germany will remain Christian. Serbia, I'm sorry, that's right. They go to some different locations. And again, 1.3 million people. And this is a protest in Belgrade. They want to get back to Christian principles. And then this again was in Germany. And these were warriors on the street. Oh, it says we're having trouble playing that video. Let me just see, because these were men. Profile isn't available, so they took it down. They don't want you seeing that. These were massive warrior men coming out and chanting. So I'm going to kind of end where I started, and an appeal to the LGBTQ community and anybody else, that you're living a sinful lifestyle and you got to turn from your ways, and you may need help with that. Email us, but choose redemption over ruination, because we will be judged one day for the kind of life that we led. Remember, none of us are perfect. All of us fall short every single day of the glory of God, but that's how come we have Jesus Christ that died on this cross so that we could be forgiven. And all we need to do is humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness when we've done something wrong, or if we've harmed somebody else. You have the means and the way to make it right. And there is victory over your sin. So next week, because it's Pride Month, we're going to continue to address this issue. So I am so pleased that Dr. Fensky is going to come on, and the title of his presentation is Trans Ideology, God's Word, Man's War. And he's going to be showing us some of the details, like the hard truths about this lifestyle, but as well, he's going to give hope to this community that you can turn from this lifestyle and you can be redeemed and you can have joy and salvation in your life. And so I really hope that you will tell others about the show, invite others. We welcome you. I look forward to that presentation. And again, as I said, we're gonna end where I had begun, where Isaiah 5:20, it says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil." We must not compromise in Canada in order not to offend people as a reason to stay silent, because then you are part of the problem. You are part of the evil that is progressing in Canada, and we need to put a stop to it. There are absolute truths, and we need to proclaim those from the mountaintops so that our children hear them, so that they will hear the truth and that it will set them free from the bondage of the education system and the lies that they've been told. They need to hear your voice. Thomas Paine, again, this is becoming one of my favorites that I will quote from, and it says, "I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time so that my children can live in peace." Isn't that just so true? I think about my kids and my grandkids, and I want a future for them, one that I had such a joy being raised in Canada. My mom and dad made sacrifices when they moved here and fled totalitarianism, and it's our turn. It is our turn to take this battle on for our children's future. I am grateful to all those who died and gave their lives for Canada's freedom, and it's our turn. It's our turn. All right, in closing, Galatians 6:9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And I again say, praise the Lord to that. We are reaping a harvest because Action for Canada has refused to give up on our children. They've refused to give up on our nation and what our fathers of Confederation gifted us with. And so we ask you to join us in this fight, support us, join a local chapter. Again, I'm just going to emphasize that. And please, give to Action for Canada and the work that we are successfully doing on your behalf. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to give us a thumbs up. And when we launch this Rumble video in the next action that goes out in a few days, that you would watch that video and please share it, and also apply to register for our Rumble page. All right. God bless you, and God bless Canada.